Hi everyone, welcome to Have You Heard? And today we're listening to another underappreciated classic, a track that has hardly been mentioned at all in the YouTube reaction channels. And it's from 1972, my favourite year. It is the debut Roxy Music album, simply called Roxy Music. And we're listening to what was track 4 on the old vinyl, the original vinyl, and the song is called 2HB. And those of you who know the song will know that it's a homage to Humphrey Bogart, the famous Hollywood actor. I guess he meant more to people back in 1972 than he does now in 2026. But those of us of a certain ilk and generation do remember him. What can I say? Another 1972 album. Every time I play one of my favourite albums, it turns out it was released in 1972. Yesterday we did For the Roses from Joni Mitchell, and that was 1972 as well. This is, well, the album is incredible, and we'll talk about it and the song a little bit more afterwards. But it's different from anything else on the album. It's, for me, the song, along with Ladytron, which we've already done on the channel a few months ago, the song that really hooked me in my first listens, or my first couple of listens to the album. And it was a challenging listen to begin with because it's so eclectic, and it was so unusual for the time. But anyway, let's listen to the song first of all. 2HB by Roxy Music, from their debut album called Roxy Music, released on the 16th of June in 1972. And it got to number 10 in the UK charts, this album. It shows how eclectic the album charts in 72 were in the UK, I think. Anyway, here we go with 2HB.
I was moved by your screen dream, celluloid pictures of living. Your death could not kill our love for you. Take two people, romantic, smoky nightclub situation. hard to forget is looking at you, kid. At least not yet. Your memory stays, it lingers ever. Fade away never. Fade away never. Fade away never. Fade away never.
One of my favourite endings for a song. Make a note. One of my favourite endings for a song. Absolutely gorgeous. Brian Ferry on the Hohner electric piano there. And it kind of dominates the song, doesn't it? But such an atmosphere. And I guess maybe you have to listen to the whole album in sequence, as we did back in those days, to just get a handle on how different the atmosphere is for this song than it was for the three that followed it and the ones that follow on afterwards. Side 2 is almost Pink Floydish with the kind of synthesizer stuff that's going on. And that was very much Brian Eno and his influences at that particular time. Famously the self-confessed non-musician in a rock band that's debut album got to number 10 in the charts. I remember like it was yesterday listening to Roxy music for the first time in a jukebox in our local pub one Saturday night. They had put in Virginia Plain, the first single, into the jukebox, and we played it because we didn't know what it was. And by the end of the first play, we knew exactly what it was. Not on the album, the British version of the album, although it was added on to the US version a short while later. The story has it that the band recorded the album without a record deal. They'd been signed up by E&G Management, the guys who looked after King Crimson and Greg Lake and ELP, I think, and they were financing the recording, and it was only, they recorded in a week, I think, the whole album in a week. And then shortly afterwards, they managed to get the record deal with Island. And so the album came out pretty quickly afterwards. And they thought they'd better release a single just to try and stimulate the album sales. But they didn't see anything on the album that was appropriate. So they recorded Virginia Plain and the B-side, The Numberer. And that went into the top 10 in the UK charts. Again, remarkably, considering the kind of song it was. And I've actually got the 7-inch single in my collection in the house here. They were completely different. Some people lumped them in with glam rock, with the David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust persona at the time, and with British bands like T-Rex and Slade. But they were very different to that, and the music really shows that. The music is so eclectic, and Andy Mackay, the saxophonist, was quoted as saying that they didn't want to be eclectic, but they wanted to show that rock music could encompass all kinds of different types of music, and it certainly did here. The Andy Mackay's beautiful sax solo is treated with tape loops there by Eno, um, so that you get these various different sounds and the repeating of the notes, which makes it all rather eerie. And listening again now on headphones, it's the first time I've listened to it on headphones for a while. Paul Thompson's drums are really, really good. Um, Unusual and sparingly played, but when they are played, wow. Graham Simpson on the bass, he didn't make it past the first album. His bass playing on this track is super. But by the time they got together to record Virginia Plain for the single, he had left the band, and he was one of the original pioneers in the band, but he left the band. And Rick Kenton came in on bass and started what became um, a revolving door of bass players that played with Roxy Music. They never settled on a permanent bass player. Every album had a different one. But there were some great players that played on it, including one of my favourites, John Giblin. But yeah, it's kind of dominated the song by the electric piano of Brian Ferry there, and that closing stanza, that ending, is just beautiful. Of course, 2HB is a reference to Humphrey Bogart, right? So it's to Humphrey Bogart, and there's lots of references on of him, and particularly Casablanca in the song, in the lyrics. And the sax solo is based on As Time Goes By, which of course is the famous piece of music from Casablanca. So it's all inspired by Humphrey Bogart and by Hollywood. Uh, Such an interesting song. And of course, it will become a recurring theme on the channel, almost completely ignored on YouTube. The reactors haven't listened to this at all. They've probably listened to Virginia Plain, and a couple have listened to Remake Remodel, which is the chaotic opening track, which needs about 10 listens to really get to understand what it's all about. But yeah, only one person has done a reaction to 2HB, and he has basically gone through the entire Roxy Music catalogue, reacting to each song. Wow, there's dedication to the cause, and I think he's done that with quite a few albums, quite a few bands as well. Of course, Roxy they changed as years went by, as they got older, as Brian Ferry's uh, stranglehold on the band became ever more stronger. He really was the driving force. Not that the other guys couldn't play, they were wonderful, but they kind of let him do the thing, and his persona just became Roxy Music to a large degree. And the second album there, For Your Pleasure, just behind, is probably even more weird than this particular album. And then they just started to temper it down a little bit. Eno left for the third album, Stranded, and Eddie Jobson came in, a whiz kid in the prog world, which really gives you that feeling that Roxy Music, if anything, they were probably a progressive rock band in a weird kind of way. But by the time the 70s were coming to an end, they were more like a mainstream pop rock band, and embraced disco with albums like Manifesto, until you got to Avalon in 1982, which is just the most beautiful, brilliantly recorded, wonderful to listen to album of what? Not yacht rock, but something so smooth that you can just curl up and go to sleep inside it. It's beautiful stuff, and we'll play some songs from that as time goes by. But there we are. there's me going on a little bit about Roxy music. I am excited to return to our roots with the channel, which is to play songs that hardly anybody, or if possible, nobody has reacted to on the channel, just to give the underdogs a chance. And by this, I'm talking about the song. I mean, the bands aren't underdogs. They're probably all going to be very successful bands, or a lot of them anyway. But the songs don't get the time of day, only the top 10%. And I'd like to change that. And I'd like to um, hope that either people watching know the song themselves and are enjoying listening to it again, or are listening to it for the first time with open ears and saying, wow, um, that's really good. I need to investigate more. So let's hope so. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today. I would love it if you could like the video. Certainly subscribe if you feel like you'd like to watch more of our videos. There's one that comes out just about every day. So I look forward to seeing you the next time on Have You Heard? But until then, cheers everybody.